Hey, how you doing? I was gonna start this video by saying it's been a while, but I think that's probably the most common way for me to start a video, so I'm not gonna. What I want to talk about in this video is kind of a personal training update, let you know how things are going, how we're getting on, but also, something kind of occurred to me, and let me give you the backstory. Something popped up in my social media feed recently, and it was a screenshot of the front cover of Jiu-Jitsu Times. And there on the cover was me in a blue gi that I'd borrowed, a Gracie Barra gi. I borrowed it from a guy who I'd been doing some private Jiu-Jitsu classes with. And the video was entitled Catch Wrestler's Thoughts on Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's still one of my most popular videos of all time because it got picked up by the Jiu-Jitsu community. And, it clearly resonated with a lot of people who had a wrestling background and had gone into Jiu-Jitsu, or people who were doing Jiu-Jitsu who would come across people from a wrestling background. And that kind of crossover between the two, where there's a lot of similarities but some significant differences, clearly hit a sweet spot, and it did fairly well. And I realised when I saw this pop up in my feed that this was 6 years ago. I also realised that I was still exactly the same grade Jiu-Jitsu because I had been for years, and continued to be for some time, no more than at best a dabbler in Jiu-Jitsu. And it struck me that was quite a wasted opportunity. I mean, then of course I realised, there's 2 years out for COVID and various lockdowns, and I know some people train through that, and do you know what? I don't blame them for a second. Technically it might have been breaking the rules, but if Boris was allowed to sit in the garden with all his mates having parties and piss-ups and barbecues, then, why on earth shouldn't people train in martial arts? But let's not get too political. But, a lot of us took a lot of time out from training through COVID, through lockdowns. We actually stuck to the rules and we stayed at home. And, so be it, rightly or wrongly, that's just the way it was. So that's a fairly significant chunk out. And of course, there was a large period of time when I wasn't training because of the injury I had to my leg. I'm not going to go into detail with that, but it was a fairly significant, fairly traumatic thing for me to go through. Had my knee opened up and screwed back together again. Yeah. But it kind of occurred to me that I think that injury was exactly what I needed to stop being a dabbler in jiu-jitsu and to actually knuckle down and get on with training. Let me try and explain. I've always had this real struggle in the way I train because I'm lucky enough that I've had the opportunity to train with some of the biggest names in the world, in the history of grappling. People like Billy Robinson, Wade Chatlis, Josh Banner. These are guys that I've trained under and I've learned vast amounts from. But there's a real difficult kind of mental hurdle that you have to go through or get over when you've just spent 3-4 days training for 8 hours a day with the greatest wrestler and wrestling coach who's ever set foot on the mats, and you walk into a gym and somebody's demonstrating a double leg, and you just look at it and go, well, that's shit. Why would you do that? But you can't challenge it because you're the new guy at the gym. And in reality, the guy who's demonstrating the double leg badly could kick the crap out of you. And, and that puts you in a really awkward situation because there's this guy who's teaching and does things brilliantly well, but is also teaching some stuff that they don't do brilliantly well. And this is maybe this is something that we should make a video about in and of itself. The fact that jiu-jitsu finds techniques that work well within the canon of jiu-jitsu that fit, and they just adopt them, and then the jiu-jitsu technical library in effect grows. This is why leg locks are now a fairly standard part of jiu-jitsu, whereas 5-10 years ago, leg locks were new and weird and dangerous and we shouldn't do them. The same with wrist locks these days. We've spoken about that. But yeah, so there was this whole mental hurdle, and I think it was just effectively my ego. And we all know, if you've grappled, if you've done any combat sports where you're actually training, you're sparring pretty much full speed, full pace in a kind of a real world situation, that you have to put your ego aside. And if you can't put your ego aside, then you aren't going to last. It's as simple as that. You go along as a brand new white belt to a jiu-jitsu class and you walk in there thinking, I'm better than these guys. You aren't going to be around for long if you can't put that aside, because the cognitive dissonance that we go through kind of forces us to change one of those beliefs. Either we stop thinking we're better than them, or we start putting ourselves in a situation where we're getting beaten up by people who we're better than. And I think that's where I was, in all honesty. And don't get me wrong, I could handle myself. I was rolling with blue belts on a regular basis and beating them a lot of the time. I'd roll with purple belts, and I kind of sat about that level. Now, I'm older, I'm fatter, I'm unfitter, and I've got a leg that doesn't work very well. Now, rolling with blue belts, yeah, I'm happy at that level. But I think that's because of a change in mindset rather than a change in physicality. My goal now is to learn as much as I can from every single person I train with. If somebody's brand new, the spazzy white belt that apparently we're not supposed to say now, then even they can teach me something, because they're going to do stuff to me that is instinctive to them. Whether it's instinctive because they've learned good instincts or because they've got bad instincts, I don't know. But, that'll show me. Maybe I'm trying to play guard. Maybe I'm trying to work on something like, some of the fundamental stuff, a triangle, maybe a straight armbar, that sort of thing. These guys will give me positions that I can try this. And sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. And when it doesn't work, it's not their fault. It's my fault. If I don't do it right, then I can't blame anyone else for that. And if I'm getting beaten, that's okay. And there's a new guy that comes along the gym, lovely guy, quite young. He's not in great shape, but he's one of the gamest people I know. And we were all rolling, and I roll with him quite often, and I try and show him a few things while we're rolling, so he's not just getting smashed. And Matt, our coach, black belt, said, "Do you want to come and roll?" And he was like, "Oh, I don't really know." And I said to him, "Look, just say yes. If a black belt ever offers you a roll, just take it. Because, yeah, you're going to get beaten, but so what? What better opportunity is there to learn?" And I think that this is the point. Eventually, we've come round to the point, is that my knee injury and going through that and believing for quite a long time that I was never going to get to do this again has made me very happy with my place in the grand scheme of things. And if that place is significantly lower than for a while I thought it should be, I don't care. I'm all right with that. And I'll roll with a blue belt, whether they've got no stripes or 4, or I'll roll with a purple, a brown, a black. I don't care. I'll roll with white belts. I'll roll with people on the first lesson. I just don't care. I love being on the mats. And I can always learn something, I don't think I've ever rolled with anyone and not come away without a little improvement in my own ability. So I'm hoping that's a mindset I get to keep. And yeah, we'll see how it goes. I mean, the fact is, I'm still loving it. I'm still doing it. We're training 3 or 4 times a week at the moment. And it's a lot of fun. So yeah, let me know what you think. Have you been through a kind of, I don't know, a road to Damascus moment, this kind of moment of clarity where you realise this is actually what I needed? And was it that jiu-jitsu, wrestling, grappling, boxing, sambo, whatever it is you do, was it that gave you that, or did that kind of happen, that epiphany that allowed you to get into it? I'm really interested to know, because, for me, this channel's about you guys. It's about the conversations and the community we build up. It's about the fight team. And on that note, keep your eyes open, because I'm going to put a video out soon asking your opinions on a number of things to do with the future of this channel. So, yeah, it's good to be back, and I'll see you soon. Fight team!